Be patient. David was a 9-year-old boy full of energy, questions, and impatience. He had big eyes that sparkled when he was curious, which was always, but those eyes would often narrow with frustration when things didn't happen fast enough. If his mom said dinner would be ready in 10 minutes, David would check every minute. "Is it done yet?" he'd ask while peeking over the counter. 10 minutes means 10 actual minutes, his mom would say, laughing. At school, David had a hard time staying calm too. When his teacher assigned a science project and gave the class a whole week to complete it, David tried to do the entire thing in a single afternoon. He didn't care much about doing it perfectly, he just wanted to be first. He liked to be the one holding up his finished paper while everyone else was still planning. Even at home, David struggled with waiting. When he watched videos on his phone, he got annoyed if the screen showed the spinning loading circle. "Ugh, why is it taking so long?" he'd groan. "Slow down, David," his dad would often say. "Not everything has to be instant." David would just sigh. Waiting felt like wasting time to him. Then one warm and sunny Saturday morning, David's grandma came to visit. Her name was Grandma Lynn. She had soft white hair that curled at the ends, and she smelled like cinnamon and flowers. Her hugs were the kind that made you feel safe, and her stories always had some lesson hidden inside. That day, Grandma Lynn brought a small brown paper bag and handed it to David with a secretive smile. "This is for you," she said, her eyes twinkling. "It's something special. But there's a rule, you must wait until tomorrow morning to use it." David's eyebrows shot up. "What is it?" "Look inside," she said. He opened the bag and found one small brown seed resting at the bottom. It looked ordinary, like any seed from a packet. "It's a seed," Grandma Lynn explained. "But it's not just any seed. If you plant it tomorrow morning, and take care of it every day, you'll see something amazing. But remember, don't plant it early, and don't rush it." David stared at the seed. What could be so special about it? He grinned. "Is it magic?" Grandma Lynn just smiled. "In a way, yes. But the magic only works with patience." That night, David couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the seed. What if it was a magic seed? What if it grew into a talking tree? Or maybe it would grow golden fruit? He turned the idea over and over in his mind until he couldn't resist anymore. He tiptoed out of bed, slipped on his sneakers, and crept out into the backyard with a flashlight. The moon was bright, casting shadows across the grass. He dug a small hole near the edge of the garden and dropped the seed in, covering it with dirt. "There," he whispered. "Let's see some magic." He gave it some water from the hose and went back to bed, excited for morning. When the sun rose, David rushed outside, and stopped in surprise. Something had grown. A small plant had sprouted overnight. But it looked odd. The leaves were lopsided, with some already turning brown. A few had holes, and the stems looked weak, bending under their own weight. David frowned. "That's not what I expected." Still, he was curious. Over the next few days, the plant kept growing, but it didn't grow well. The branches twisted in random directions. Some leaves were green, some yellow, and others shriveled. The roots began to push through the ground, cracking the nearby sidewalk and making the dirt look uneven. One morning, David's dad came outside and noticed the damage. "David, this plant is a problem. Its roots are hurting the yard. We might have to dig it out." David's shoulders slumped. He had wanted something cool and fast, but this was a mess. He felt disappointed and guilty. Later that day, he walked next door to see Mr. Thompson, their elderly neighbor. Mr. Thompson had the most beautiful garden on the street. Flowers of all colors bloomed in neat rows. His tomatoes were round and red, and his sunflowers stood tall and proud. He spent hours every day in his garden, wearing his straw hat and humming old tunes. David told Mr. Thompson the whole story, from the seed, to planting it early, to the strange plant that grew. Mr. Thompson chuckled softly. "Ah, you planted it early, didn't you?" David nodded. "I thought it might grow faster. But now it's all weird and ugly. And it's breaking stuff. Let me show you something, said Mr. Thompson. He walked over to his garden and picked up a small green watering bottle with a tiny nozzle. This is my patience tool. It only lets out 1 drop of water per minute. 1 drop a minute? That's so slow, David groaned. Mr. Thompson smiled. Good things take time, David. Patience is like sunlight for the heart. It helps things grow right. He handed David the bottle. Go sit with your plant. Water it slowly. 1 drop at a time. Watch. Wait. Be still. You might learn something. David didn't want to. But something about Mr. Thompson's words stuck with him. That afternoon, he sat beside the twisted plant with the little bottle. The sun was warm, and a gentle breeze rustled the trees. He started dripping water onto the base of the plant. 1 drop. Then another. Then another. At first, he felt bored out of his mind. He looked around, wondering how long 5 minutes could feel. But slowly, he started to notice things. Ants marched along the garden path, carrying food. A bluebird landed on a branch nearby and chirped a sweet song. The clouds overhead moved like slow ships across the sky. A nearby flower began to bloom in real time, its petals opening wide to greet the light. David felt something shift inside him. He did the same thing the next day, and the next. Each drop of water felt like a promise. He gave the plant shade when the sun was too hot. He picked off the brown leaves and whispered to it like it was a friend. And something began to change. Not just in the plant, but in David. The leaves turned greener. The branches straightened. The roots stopped breaking the sidewalk and began to sink deeper, steadier, into the soil. Soon, a small yellow bud appeared at the center of the plant. One morning, David stepped outside and gasped. The yellow bud had bloomed into a bright flower. Its petals were smooth and wide, glowing in the morning sun. Then more buds appeared. One by one, they opened into yellow blossoms, each more beautiful than the last. His plant had become the prettiest thing in the garden. That weekend, Grandma Lynn came back to visit. She walked into the backyard and stopped when she saw the flowering plant. Her eyes widened, and she smiled. David, it's beautiful. David stood next to the plant, proud and a little shy. I messed up at first, he said. I planted the seed too early. I thought it would be magic. But it got all messy. But then? Grandma asked gently. Then I learned to wait. Mr. Thompson helped me. I watered it slow. I washed. I sat still. And it worked. It grew the right way. Grandma Lynn hugged him tightly. You learned the secret, she said. David smiled. The seed wasn't magic. The real magic was patience. Grandma Lynn nodded. Exactly. Patience is what helps everything grow, the right way, at the right time. From that day on, David was different. He still had his bursts of energy, and he still asked questions, but he didn't rush as much. He waited when his mom said dinner would be ready. He took time to do his projects carefully at school. He even learned to enjoy slow-loading videos, using the wait to notice things around him. David became known as the boy who grew the golden flowers, the ones that only bloomed because he had learned to wait. And in the quiet moments, when he sat in the garden, watering drop by drop, he would smile and whisper to the leaves. Be patient.